You're listening to the Coach's Journey podcast, exposing the struggles and celebrating the successes in the life of coaches who are action takers and creating authentic impact in today's world. Whether you're just starting out, expanding your reach, or exploding your impact, you're in the right place right now. Stay tuned and be sure to subscribe to this podcast. Now, here are your hosts of the Coach's Journey podcast.
So maybe we can start this off with sharing what we heard on the masterclass from the coaches, what struggles they had, what were they trying to learn, and what were they trying to do to help them move forward? Where are they generally? And we can take it from there.
Yeah, first of all, I want to say, Faisal, you did an amazing job of that class, of leading it and putting it together and really engaging the discussion. I think a lot of people came to that class specifically to find out more about how to run these discovery calls. I'm just going to use the word discovery call. And if anybody wants to hear the recording, you can get the recording as well. But that was a great call because I think a lot of people shared the different things that they were talking about. A couple of questions were pretty insightful to me. Like towards the end, we had a question on like, hey, can you be absolutely sure that if I do these steps, it's going to work for me? And I think the thing that that's where people in mindset are is like, I want to have a guarantee that this is going to work for me. And the challenge I think you addressed, Faisal, was that, well, it depends on what is right for you, right? Like not everybody needs to market the same way. Not everybody has the same program. Not everybody has the same clients. Not everybody has the same approaches. And so what works for you might be slightly different than what works from somebody else. But the general process of the strategy session is it's a good chameleon for including in your particular process. But there's a lot of pieces of that. I think people weren't aware of the pieces that go into leading into get to that discovery session, as an example. That's something I heard.
Yeah, I totally love that and really resonated with me as well. I certainly have gotten into the mindset before of like, just tell me what to do, give me the 5-step process, the exact framework, the exact words and verbiage to get the specific outcome. But especially in coaching, my experience is that that's not necessarily the case. Becoming a good coach, kind of looking at it, it's not like a puzzle where there's the exact puzzle pieces with the exact defined lines and edges. It's more maybe like a watercolor painting where, if you're going to do a landscape, well, there's some things that probably need to be in it. There's the sky, there's maybe some greenery and some ground covering. So there's some certain things that need to be in there, but how it actually comes together and exactly what it looks like is going to be different based on different things. Every ideal audience or ideal client is going to be different. What works, if you're working with moms, that's going to be very different. Outreach and strategy session, potentially some of the nuances of it than if you're working with male CEOs. So yeah, I think that idea that there's one cookie cutter way of doing it can get us stuck. And then we think we're wrong or that what we're doing isn't working. Like I suck as a coach, rather than understanding that the process around what we're doing maybe needs to be tweaked.
Yeah, I love that. And also we live in I'll talk a little bit about the greater culture that we're used to 5-step processes or 6. This is why these videos are on like 5 ways to do this, 6 ways to do this, 10 ways. They tend to get a lot more clicks is because people are looking for shortcuts. So, but I mean, think about it from a life experience point of view. And I want people to consider this. Have you done anything worth doing? Anything that brings you a deeper level of fulfillment, of connection, of something that you look forward to? That could be your family. That could be a job. That could be a business. That could be your faith, whatever you're connected to. That has not taken a lot of time, effort, consistency, a lot of work, experimentation for you to figure out what that is for you. And if you've lived a few years, you know that shortcuts are usually not a good idea. Now, there are ways to accelerate the process. We believe that. But whenever we try to shortcut the things that you need to do to grow, that's when things break down. So I'll give you some specific examples in business. So actually, I like referencing this from Gary Vee and also Alex Hermosi. They both said it in different ways. So Gary Vee says this. So he was talking about he was connecting with a client and they wanted to hire his marketing agency to promote their product, to market it for them. He's looking at the product. He's like, I'll tell you one thing. We're really good at this. we're going to make your product like go out there and it'll be in front of a lot of people. But that's not really a good thing because your product is shit. Because if we do this and we promote it, it's going to hurt your company. What my recommendation is for you to work on your product, not promoting it at this scale. And then we can help you do that. He didn't mean that in a negative way, but he really meant that as like, you need to improve on the product, the thing there. And in our case, and for coaches, it is our skill sets. If that thing does not work, you can keep promoting yourself all day long. Everything else breaks down. And that's a path of mastery. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of experimentation to build it. We will share frameworks with you, but ultimately you take that and experiment with it and see how it functions within your business.
Yeah. What it reminded me of as you were talking, Faisal, is, you can have like a short-term success, but if you're not developing yourself and really understanding how to do it on a deep level, it's not going to last. And so it reminds me of when I was doing my work as a psychologist, I would do evaluations for gastric bypass surgery. And so the clients would come and I would have to run them through an evaluation around, and basically it was a judgment around how successful are they going to be long-term. And the physicians, the surgeons want this to happen because they know that if somebody is coming to get surgery to lose weight as a quick fix, it's not going to last. They actually have to have behavioral changes that support sustaining the weight loss. And they also look at the relationships and the environment around them. Is that set up to foster long-term success as well? So there's all of these different layers that need to be in place, or at least be working on developing in order for that long-term success. So imagine that you run an ad. Let's say you're like, I'm going to dump some money into Facebook ads as a coach to try to generate more leads. And you do that, but your strategy session is completely ineffective, or, pretty ineffective, because you haven't worked on honing it. You just wasted a lot of money and you're not really any better off for it because you're struggling converting those clients. So I think in so many ways, getting the strategy session down is really important for that long-term success.
I love that, Sheri. And it kind of goes to the other thing I think was touched on in our masterclass, which is a lot of coaches, they want to coach. They really want to coach. They love the point of serving as a coach. They love the impact that it makes. They love the ripple effect. They love seeing the changes in other people. And one of the challenges is if they're so focused on that, they don't want to quote, they don't want to be selling, and they don't want to do the part that is the selling. But one of the things that you're really saying, Sheri, ultimately is how important that strategy session is. How important is the sales process in that process? Because if you really want to serve, you're not just going to wake up one day and be serving 5 clients. You're going to have to take them through a process so that they agree to go into the coaching journey with you. And that means you're going to have to sell them. And why are you selling them? It's not for yourself. It's so you can serve them, so that you can actually take them on that journey that they need to go through, because what they've done so far has not been working, and what they need is that support. And so if they're coming to you, it's because they need something. So if you can help them in that journey, you got to go through that sales process. And that sales process, fortunately, is actually just a coaching process, because part of coaching is you discovering what is real for them, what is true for them, not trying to get them into your funnel and into your pocketbook. It's actually about serving. It's about making a difference for them. And part of the way you make a difference really sustainably is not coming to quick judgments about what the answers are. It's about finding out the context for that person. What are their real struggles? What are their real goals? Not like, oh, I need to take you to this and this and this so that you sign the thing and then go to my program in this way. It's actually not about that. And so the idea of doing a sales session, that's why I don't like calling it sales sessions, because sometimes coaches think, oh, sales, I don't want to do that. But actually call it a discovery session. You're here to discover how you can best serve this person. Sometimes it's coaching. In that case, you can offer them your program. And sometimes it's not, and that's okay too. So knowing how to do this really well is super, super important, because it's the gateway to you actually serving.
Yeah, that's great perspective.
Yeah, I love that. And I want to also address, and this is one of the things that I talk to coaches a lot about. And unfortunately, coaches get pulled into all sorts of weird programs that kind of promise them to, hey, you're going to make 6 figures in 3 months. You're going to make 7 figures in a year, or whatever that is. And the reason was why those promises don't work is because they're only looking at the business aspects of it. Like, this is a marketing thing. Like, you're enticing people to come into something that might or might not be true. And the way they can move around it is that, oh, well, we didn't promise that. And like, I think there's a term for it. It's weasel marketing or something like that. There's that that you can move it, that weasel ads or weasel marketing, something that you can say something, but it's vague enough for you to move around that if you ever get sued.
Oh, interesting. Leaving some room for loopholes.
And they leave enough room for loopholes for that to happen. And so coaches will go into these programs. They're either a marketing program or it's run by business coaches. And it's not that they don't teach anything of value. Yes, they will teach you how business functions. They will teach you prospecting, but they don't understand the coaching world. They don't understand the skill set of coaching. They don't understand the actual product very well. And they assume that it's like any other product. The problem is that nobody knows what the hell coaching is. And everybody has their own conception of coaching. And even if they've gone through coaching with somebody else, more than likely that coach has done their version of coaching. Because, and it's very common in the coaching world, because coaching world, it's not regulated. People will approach their own ways of how coaching works. We're figuring out what that looks like ourselves. And we're not saying like this is the only way to coach, but we're trying to build a community where we can get more data around that, because nobody knows what the hell it is. Every influencer, leader, coach is teaching it in different ways. To add to that complexity, there are different models for coaching too. And to add more to that complexity is that now that you're adding business complexity to it, to how do you get people to do this? So a lot of these marketers and business coaches don't know what to do with coaches, because then they don't understand it. And then the second set of people that you get is these marketers who have been coaches, but a while ago. Now they're at a 8-9 figure businesses, they're running bigger agencies, and they pretty much just teach you what they did 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Does not work. It's a different world. Coaches deal with different challenges, a different economy. And some of them might even allude to the fact that you need to get practice. You need to make sure your skill sets are good, but they don't stress on it enough, because they can't create a simple program that they can sell. And unfortunately, they're in a place where they need to sell many units of that program. So they need to create something that's repeatable. So they will put you in a big training section. They'll give you a course, might or might not help you. Now, I'm not saying this because they mean harm. They will help you to some degree, but it will not help you to build a sustainable business as fast as you think it will. So I just wanted to address those things.
Faisal, are you saying that because it's really hard to teach coaching skills and create that environment where people are really up-leveling their coaching skills?
But I'm saying that on both sides, the coaching skill set and the business skill. And this is why in Coaching Master Community, one of the things that we've learned is that you need to get feedback on the skill sides of things, of how are you delivering your sessions, whether that's your sales sessions or your sessions in general, and how are you approaching, because if you're a coach, you've learned it from one influencer, you've gone through a training, you have a way of approaching things. Now, if nobody else is checking in with that, you're just going to keep doing whatever you were doing and might or might not work. You don't have any other feedback, and you don't know what other coaches in the industry are doing. So you're not picking up different approaches, different tools, different ways of experimenting with that. And one of the reasons why I've grown faster is because I've learned so much from other coaches, and I've experimented with those tools and I've worked on them, and I continue to develop that. And then on the business side, it's even more complex. And if find out any successful business owner, and they will tell you very clearly they're part of multiple masterminds. They are part of groups of other business owners who run businesses. They talk to other business owners, especially in the economy we're in. If they don't, they will go out of business because there are too many things happening too fast. They don't know how they will run their business. They understand that very well. That's a very common practice in business, especially in the last 10, 20 years.
Faisal, how many groups are you part of?
Multiple groups. Well, I'm part of Daniel's group. I have a business coach and I'm part of that group. I have another mastermind that I'm a part of, and I have my own masterminds. I have 4 or 5 masterminds that I'm a part of. I go to regular events. I'm connected to other business owners. I talk to individual business owners we're successful on a consistent basis. And I give them feedback. They give me feedback on what things are going. This is how I kind of stay on track. Otherwise, there are too many things happening in the coaching world. In the business world, there are too many things. So that's why our thing we've come up with is that you need to have discussions with other business owners and other coaches, and preferably coaches who are business owners or coaches who are at least trying to build a business.
Yeah.
And
Daniel,
this is, can't stress that enough.
What groups or and feedback loops do you have in your life?
A number of them. I have my own business coach, and there's a group there as well. And there's surrounded by, a few marketing, like there's marketing and business coaching groups within that group. I'm also running. One of the things I love about groups is that when I run them, I can build a group that I want and need, which, for example, Coaching Mastery Communities is a big group that I love. And, I also run Group Coach Magic, which is about group coaching. But being part of that group has been really good for me personally, even as a leader, because I am learning along with people, right? Like, because we're pushing ourselves to the next level, because we're not only teaching it, but we're creating an environment where people want to help each other and learn, both in the Coaching Master community, but also in that community. And so I kind of like being part of leading the groups too. And if you take a leadership role in a group, you actually get a higher return on your involvement in that group, whether that's paid or whether it's non-paid. Anytime you step up to take a leadership role, and I would encourage people to take leadership roles in the communities that they're part of, if only to enhance their own learning. And I have a number of other groups as well, but I think it's really important to be in groups where you can get that cross-pollination.
Yeah, I love that. And you, just to extract one thing I heard you talk about, which I would just make explicit, is when we're part of groups, one of the values that I think is important, and I think you do too, Daniel, from what you said, is the humility around the leaders. Whoever the leaders are they the kind of leader that, and if you're in other groups and you're listening to this, are they the kind of leader that I'm like, I'm an expert, I know it all, follow me, do what I do? Or are they saying, yeah, I know a lot of things, I might be considered an expert, but I'm still growing and I'm still learning, and it's a two-way influential relationship rather than them, influencing everybody else, but they remain untouchable, which we hear in some organizations that is the dynamic, and I don't think that's healthy. So just something to think about.
You're listening to the Coach's Journey podcast.